Hello and welcome to the news at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland tonight. A safe haven or communities driven apart? We look at both sides of the asylum seekers debate that split opinion in Scotland. We will have analysis from a new investigation also tonight following the Scottish child abuse inquiry. 2 former nuns are found guilty of abusing children in their care in the 1970s and 80s. Of course, we will have all the sport with Lewis. What's coming up tonight, Lewis?
Well, Amy, we'll be hearing from the non-league football manager who's plotting just how to take on the most successful team in the Scottish Cup after Celtic were drawn to face Auchinleck Talbot in the 4th round.
Yes, quite a draw, isn't it? And we will hear from Peter May, author of the Lewis Trilogy, about a new album of his songs. Hello, I'm Amy Irons and welcome to the news at 7. Well, yes, we're going to start tonight with one of the issues that's dominated news programmes, social media timelines, and has generated strong debate this year. In towns and cities across the country, there's been rising anger over the number of asylum seekers coming to the UK. Since the summer, in places like Falkirk and Aberdeen, there have been weekly protests outside hotels being used to house asylum seekers. It's caused unrest and division in these places. For the past 3 months, the BBC's Disclosure programme has been following the protests. In a moment, we will be joined by Disclosure's Mark Daly. But first, here's the moment he was confronted during his efforts to speak to one of the asylum seekers housed in Falkirk's Cladden Hotel.
I was interviewing an asylum seeker staying at the hotel when we were approached by a woman filming on her phone.
That's why you are encouraging these young men to sit in this park. Sorry? Just asking why you are encouraging these young men to sit in this park. Take it at park that women and children come here on their own to walk their dogs.
So we're just
this Falkirk is a big place.
So we're just
but you're encouraging them to come into a park.
I don't really understand what your concern is because there's no threat.
Right at this moment in time there's not? Is that what you're telling me?
Exactly.
Anything happens in here, you've got it on your head.
Well, Mark joins us now. Mark, thanks for popping into the studio. What was it like? Just describe to us what it was like finding yourself at the centre of this storm.
Yes, I prefer not to be at the centre of my stories. It's not exactly a comfortable or normal place to be, but that's what happens, and I think it says quite a lot about this story. It's provoked a really strong reaction in people. It was viewed over 2 million times. It was retweeted by the far-right activist Tommy Robinson. This woman was hailed a hero for standing up for women and children. My social media timeline was deluged with abuse. It wasn't exactly pleasant, but it was instructive. And I think what it did is give me a really sharp insight into how some people in Falkirk really feel about the asylum seekers in their town. Yeah,
because Mark, I mean, there are genuine concerns among people in Falkirk, aren't they, at the moment?
There are. There's much more to this. There are fears about safety. For example, Sidek Nikzad from Afghanistan was living in the Cladden Hotel when he attacked a 15-year-old girl and raped her. He was convicted earlier this year. Some people are scared when they see big groups of men in a park from different countries, different cultures. And although we did check out the claim that the lady in the video made about children being followed through the park by asylum seekers, and that appeared to have no basis according to the police. But there are also concerns about fairness. Deprivation levels in Falkirk are rising. There are 11,000 or more names on the waiting list for housing. People see asylum seekers coming in small boats, getting free accommodation, and that sticks in their throats a little bit. But there's another thing going on, and it's about what's kind of seen as a lack of communication with communities. Now, Falkirk Council itself tells us that it only had a few days' notice from the Home Office that nearly 90 men were about to be brought to stay in the Cladden Hotel in Falkirk. So many residents feel that this was just dropped on them and that they are seeing parts of their community, the face of parts of their community change, and no one's talking to them about it.
It's felt like a summer of division and hatred and worry, and it's not been a nice place to be. And that's not a place that I think Falkirk is, and it's not representative of what our community or our town is.
This is not about racism, this is not about anything skin colour. It's about illegal, unvetted and undocumented men.
I think that people are potentially angry at the wrong people, and we need to focus on what unifies us.
They're getting telly, they're getting warmth, they're getting clothing, they're getting phones, they're getting free healthcare. And if you think that's right in our country right now, I don't.
Well, over the past 3 months, we've tried to kind of get underneath this story, capture an essence about what's driving them, who is driving them, and hopefully bring a bit of understanding to what's been going on in our towns and cities this summer, because this story isn't going away. The Home Office has introduced some new measures where it hopes to clamp down on what it sees as illegal migration to make the UK less attractive to asylum seekers. Now, the protesters might see this as a victory, but will it be enough? That is the question to bring communities like Falkirk back together.
Yeah, it's a big question mark, and thank you so much. That's obviously just a little snippet of the documentary, and you can watch Disclosure, Are Refugees Welcome Here now on iPlayer or on BBC One Scotland tonight at 8 o'clock. And thanks very much to Mark Daly there for popping into the studio with us. Now, the First Minister, John Swinney, has joined calls for Rachel Reeves to resign as Chancellor following claims she misled the public over the state of the economy ahead of last week's budget. But the Prime Minister today gave his backing to the Chancellor, saying he was proud of measures outlined, like lifting the two-child benefit cap and a £150 reduction in energy bills. Well, our Westminster correspondent, Paris Gurtsianis, sent us this report.
Did Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, deliberately talk down the British economy? That's the claim from her critics, and today John Swinney, the First Minister, joined the likes of the Conservatives and the Reform Party in saying that she should resign. So what's this all about? Well, on the 4th of November, 3 weeks before the budget, the Chancellor gave a very unexpected speech in which she said the UK's growth forecasts had been downgraded, and the Treasury let it be known that this could lead to a rise in income tax, which would have broken the Labour manifesto. We've since learned that actually all along the Chancellor had on her desk figures showing that the public finances weren't in the red, they were in the black. There was no black hole. Now, Rachel Reeves said she was just being cautious. She had to put aside extra money into the government's rainy day fund. It's what's known as fiscal headroom, and that's why she was issuing that warning. But today, the Prime Minister came out in defence of his Chancellor.
There was no misleading, and I simply don't accept, and I was receiving the numbers, that being told that the OBR productivity review means you've got £16 billion less than you would otherwise have had, shows that you've got an easy starting point. Yes, of course, all the other figures have to be taken into account, but we started the process with significantly less than we would otherwise have had.
So what impact will all of this have? Well, for one thing, it's distracting from the budget measures that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor would rather be talking about, like taking £150 off energy bills and lifting the two-child benefit cap. There's also plenty of quotes in the newspapers this morning, anonymous quotes from Labour MPs saying that they're unhappy with the way the budget has unfolded. Some of them are Scottish Labour MPs saying that Keir Starmer isn't helping Anna Sarwar with next May's Holyrood elections. Now, I've spoken to some Scottish Labour MPs who say that there's no chance of a leadership challenge against Keir Starmer before those elections. That chaos simply would add to Scottish Labour's problems rather than take away from them. Now, there were two other things in the Prime Minister's speech today that are worth noting on the topic of growing the economy. One, he said that the UK has to get closer to the European Union. And two, he wants to look at welfare reform again. So clearly, more political controversy on the horizon. Today, we saw the resignation of the head of the OBR over his organisation's publication of budget details before Rachel Reeves' speech. The Chancellor's critics say that's not the resignation they're looking for.
Paris Gurtsianis there for us. Thanks very much for joining us on tonight's News at 7. We still have more to come for you in the programme, including the well-known author who's turned to music for the first time, reflecting on some deeply personal moments.
And it's the first day of meteorological winter, but will the weather be cold over the next few days? I'll have all the details before the end of the programme.
Two former nuns and a retired care worker have been found guilty of historic abuse against vulnerable children at children's homes. Ex-nuns Carol Birds and Eileen McElhenney were found guilty of crimes committed at Sisters of Nazareth children's homes in Laswade and Kilmarnock in the 1970s and 80s. Former care worker Dorothy Kane was also found guilty of abuse. Our Home Affairs correspondent David Cowan has more.
6 years ago, the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry delivered a damning verdict on orphanages run by the Poor Sisters of Nazareth. The inquiry chair, Lady Smith, said the Nazareth houses in Scotland were, for many children, places of fear, hostility and confusion, places where children were physically abused and emotionally degraded with impunity. Some of that abuse took place in the children's home that used to operate in this building in Bonnyrigg in Midlothian. Evidence heard at the inquiry was followed up by police investigation, leading to a 5-week trial at Edinburgh Sheriff Court and, late last week, the convictions of 3 women over a catalogue of cruelty against children in their care. 75-year-old Carol Birds was found guilty of 13 charges, 8 involving cruel and unnatural treatment causing unnecessary suffering and injury. 5 others involved assault. When the offences took place in the 1970s and 80s, Carol Birds was known as Sister Carmel Rose. She's been convicted of striking, punching and kicking children, forcing soap and food into their mouths and locking one victim in an unlit cellar without food and water. She rubbed bedding soaked in urine on the heads of 2 children and assaulted others with a belt, stick, wooden ruler and slipper. Seen here in the green coat, another former nun, Eileen McElhinney, was found guilty of 3 charges of cruel and unnatural treatment and 2 charges of assault. Children's home worker Dorothy Kane was convicted of 2 charges. The 3 women will be sentenced next month. David Cowan reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Let's get a roundup of some of the stories you can find on the BBC News app in Scotland then. And the UK's largest oil and gas producer plans to cut about 100 offshore jobs. Harbour Energy, which has a base near Aberdeen, has already reduced its onshore workforce by about 600 since 2023. Thieves have stolen jewellery and more than £20,000 in cash during 2 housebreakings in Glenrothes. Detectives said a 5-figure sum and electrical items were stolen from a property in the town on Wednesday. Planning officials in the Borders are recommending proposals for Scotland's first Centre Parks holiday village are given approval. The planned development near Hawick has attracted about 40 objections from people nearby. And fire crews have tackled an early morning blaze here at BBC Scotland's headquarters in Glasgow. Radio and television programming was suspended, but the fire was extinguished and all staff exited safely. Well, for more information on all of these stories and many more, you can just scan that QR code on your screen. It will take you straight to the BBC Scotland News app. There is more for you there, including a ruling that shinty helmets will be compulsory for those playing the sport from 2027. Now, how do you prepare future childcare workers for the reality of crying babies? Dumfries and Galloway College think they've found a solution. In what's thought to be the first of its kind in Scotland, students are now exposed to the sound of crying infants during their training, helping build resilience before their first nursery placements. In previous years, dropout rates after placements have reached more than 18%, but since the change, no one has left the course. Well, earlier I spoke to Anne Clark from the college, who introduced this new approach.
Students are effectively running their own virtual nursery and developing the skills that they've built from the knowledge phase. And this involves creating this simulated nursery environment, and that's within the noise and the busyness and just that feel of working with babies and young children that some of our students will not have experienced. They might not have been in a nursery, they might not have any experience of that. And so we work through scenarios that they might then see in a nursery environment. And then the last part of the learning phase is going into placement and into practice. And hopefully students will be better prepared to go out with their placement.
What's the reaction been, Anne, specifically talking about the immersive element and the fact that you do have students being exposed to that more real life-like situation, and they might not have encountered a baby crying or a toddler screaming, whatever it is, they might not have encountered that in their own personal life. What's the response been like from some of them when they're then dealing with that in a classroom setting?
Yeah, it's been really positive. And actually one of the things that we've purposely done is that even so that they're working through a scenario or a task in the nursery, in the playroom environment, we don't turn that noise off, because it's really important, because you can't turn that off in an actual nursery, you know, it's ongoing. And so that has really helped them, I suppose, adapt their senses to that. And we've had really positive feedback from students. They've just completed their first block placement, and the feedback has been very positive, that it's helped them prepare and get them ready for that environment. And that also shows in the evidence with where we've seen historically high numbers of nearly 20% of our students in this course withdrawing after placement experience, we've not had anybody withdraw having completed their first placement. So that's really positive as well.
And just before we let you go, Anne, do you think this could work elsewhere, that real life experience before going out to do a placement, kind of preparing students?
Absolutely. I mean, it is our intention to, if this is successful throughout the whole year, that we'll align that to the rest of the courses that we offer within our early years portfolio. But certainly there's nothing stopping, other vocations adapting this. And I think, from what we've had so far, I think it's something that we should really be thinking about.
Well, Anne Clark, thank you so much for joining us on the programme. Well, still to come, we'll see how the weather is looking with Kirstine. But before that, someone who's, I hope, getting used to the sound of a crying baby with a 3-week-old in the house anyway. It's Lewis who's here with the sport.
Absolutely, and I'm an expert at dealing with it already, Amy. 3 weeks in. Thanks very much. Hello there. Well, take a look at this. Scenes of celebration for 6th tier side Auchinleck Talbot in the Scottish Cup after they secured their place in the 4th round draw with victory over Dumbarton. And what a prize they were rewarded with when they were drawn against the most successful team in the history of the competition, Celtic. That is undoubtedly the standout fixture from the 4th round draw. Some other ones include holders Aberdeen hosting Wraith Rovers at Pittodrie, and League Two side Annan Athletic have been drawn Rangers at Ibrox. Another intriguing one, but for the West of Scotland League side, it should be a memorable occasion when Celtic travel to Ayrshire. Kenny Crawford has been along to meet the manager at his day job.
Hi Tommy, how's it going?
Not bad, Kenny, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How's progress on the site this morning?
Busy, aye, quite busy, I must admit.
Good to see you.
Normal. How you doing?
And well done for your exploits at the weekend. We talked about progress on the site. What about cup progress?
Oh, delighted with the result and a good performance as well. It was a bit of a surprise to a lot of folk, probably the score, but the boys were excellent, especially in the second half.
Yep, so you got Dumbarton out the way, and then you got quite a good draw. Were you expecting Celtic?
No, not at all. You never expect that. I was watching the draw live and I was laughing because they're coming to Beechwood, obviously, and they went to Feyenoord last week. And I don't think they'll be worried too much about coming to Beechwood when they can go to Feyenoord and win. But look, so it's on the day, isn't it? And it's a great thing for us to look forward to.
You've been at Auchinleck Talbot as a player, as a manager. Tell us how long as a manager?
I think this is 22nd year.
Talk about long-serving managers. You wouldn't get that at many clubs now.
No, not at all. Look, it's some club, don't be kidding. We've obviously got good folk behind us when we've been there that long. They've went through hard times with me. So this is one of the better times, being honest with you, and what a draw. But I'm actually delighted for the people at the club. And the players. Football's about the players, it's not really about us guys. We're just kind of overseeing things. Players, it's a huge occasion for them, and hopefully they can, we've got a young side, and hopefully they can play well on the day.
Yeah, and finally, coming into work this morning, what was that like, meeting all your workmates, them knowing the draw?
My phone last night, as soon as the draw is made, it was quite a funny one. It obviously get busy after that, but more or less the first one on was my grandson. He's 12-year-old and he's football man.
What's his name?
Jack, and he's, can you get me and my dad a ticket? That was that. That made me smile, I must admit.
I'll try my best, Jack.
It did, it made me smile.
And what's left to do here today before you clock off?
Oh, look, I've got a lot to do. There's a lot of brickies waiting on me down there. If they're not making money, they're not happy with me.
Well, Tommy, Sloan, thanks very much for speaking to us.
Kenny, thanks.
I'm sure we'll see you before January, but all the best as you prepare for this amazing cup tie. You deserve it.
Thanks very much, Kenny. Cheers.
Brilliant stuff, Kenny Crawford there. Now, the Scottish FA have sold the naming rights to Hampden Park to a London-based financial services company in the first deal of its kind for the Glasgow ground's history. The multi-million-pound deal with Barclays will help harness the power of football and make an everyday impact in Scottish society. That's according to the SFA's Chief Executive, Ian Maxwell. Now, Scotland's men's cricket team has a new head coach, and it's this man here, Owen Dawkins, who moves from English county side Gloucestershire. Dawkins will be assisted by former Scotland captain Gordon Drummond. The national team, who failed to qualify for next year's 2020 World Cup, have been looking for a new coach since Doug Watson left the role in September.
Our aim will definitely be to get the 2027 and then 2028 T20s. It's our aim to qualify for that, and it's our aim to continue to develop the players and continue to develop Scottish cricket. For me, it's important that, as I said, everyone in Scotland wants to be playing for Scotland and can see that if we're really growing as a wider squad, then we'll have more success as a team.
And that's the sport tonight. I mean, I have to say, what a draw for Auchinleck. Surely Tommy Sloan's going to get his grandson a ticket, though. Surely.
You would think so. But I'm just glad he'll be able to at least teach the players to build a wall with all that experience. Keep the Celtic goals out, potentially.
Is that what you were coming up with there? Very good.
Scribbling something down, you know me. Thanks very much, Lewis. Now, a historic well hidden for centuries beneath Glasgow Cathedral has been uncovered and reopened to the public. A few weeks ago, it was excavated by archaeologists in a public event, and now it's at the centre of a celebration in music, of art and light to mark the 850th birthday of the city of Glasgow. Our arts correspondent Polly McLean went along and made a wish.
Long before this grand cathedral took shape, there was a simple well used by the city's patron saint Mungo. Sealed inside, it became a site of pilgrimage, and then it fell out of favour as a place of superstition and ill health as cholera and typhoid took its toll. But a major project to mark Glasgow's 850th anniversary has reawakened St Mungo's Well.
I saw that little well in the corner with no signage, and it had kind of just been forgotten, and I thought, wouldn't it be incredible to bring this back as a gift for the people of Glasgow and the 500,000 visitors who come every year as the true starting point of this city.
Keep going.
An excavation, the first in 70 years, discovered a well which still drew visitors. They found coins from around the world, rings, shells and thimbles, as well as clear water. And it offered a challenge to the artist tasked with designing a new mosaic, which would breathe life into this once dark space.
We obviously couldn't work in the well. I had a joiner in Edinburgh cut me a large tabletop with a hole in the middle so that we could place each ring on top of the table. And then I worked with a really fantastic tiler, and he'd crawl in underneath and pop up within it. And it meant he could just turn around and place the glass plates as I handed them to him.
The Venetian glass echoes the colours of the landscape which once surrounded the well and is designed to last for generations to come, whatever they may come for.
A time in history where we've been marred by violence across the world and intolerance between people. This is an antidote to that. It's about a place where we can feel good about ourselves and maybe just wish for a more peaceful world.
Polly McLean, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Now, he is best known as the author of gritty crime fiction, but of the Lewis trilogy. But after selling 16 million novels worldwide, writer Peter May is exploring a new creative outlet by releasing an album of his own songs. I spoke to him earlier about the inspiration for the record, called Towards the Light.
And I'm travelling now, travelling straight towards the light. Daylight slowly fading leaves me trapped inside.
It's an account in first person of my father's deterioration into Alzheimer's. I looked after him during the last couple of years of his life and used a lot of that experience in one of my books, The Lewis Man. But doing it in the form of a song is somehow more personal and more immediate. So that's where that one came from.
You've obviously had such huge success as an author, Peter. Millions of copies sold round the world. Why did you decide to pivot to music now, when most people, after the amount of success you've had, might be thinking about slowing down?
In a way, I am slowing down. When I was writing the books, it was 6 months of the year writing and 6 months of the year on the road promoting. So it was pretty much full on. And I started to wind down about 3 or 4 years ago and decided that really now was the time to return to, in a way, what was my first love. Music was what I started with when I was a kid, played in bands all through my teen years and my 20s. And until writing took over, that had been my life, and now I'm going back to it and getting a lot of fulfilment from it.
Do you think, Peter, have you really given up writing books for good, or is it a case of never say never, and you don't know, there might be another book in there?
Well, I always say that, you know, if something jumps up and smacks me in the face, a good idea, then I'll sit down and write it, that's for sure. So, you know, the instinct will always be there.
Peter, I'm sure there would be many people that are very happy hearing that there might be still a chance of another book. Do you have plans then to go on the road and perform once the album's out this week?
I think I'm a bit old for that, to be honest. I would love to do it, but, you know, it's hugely complex, the logistics of it and getting all the guys together and rehearsing, and it's probably not going to happen.
We'll be keeping a close eye on you either way. Peter, thank you so much for joining us on the programme, and cannot wait for the release of the album this Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Amy.
Yes, we'll still keep our fingers crossed for that next novel, but best of luck to Peter with the music. Right, let's see how the weather is looking. And Kirstein's here, and oh gosh, we've had weather warnings. There's been a lot of rain, but some parts looking pretty glorious too.
Yeah, although it has, you wouldn't know it from some of these pictures, been quite an unsettled start to meteorological winter today. We've had some spells of sunshine in Edinburgh, a beautiful picture from one of our weather watchers here. Across parts of the borders, though, we have had outbreaks of rain at times across southern Scotland in general, and some breaks in the cloud across central areas too. But as I say, it's been a mixed bag today. And certainly, as I say, it's the beginning of the meteorological winter, and this week in general, our weather will be driven by the Atlantic. Low pressure systems moving in, along with shower and rain-bearing frontal systems at times. So if we take a look ahead to tomorrow morning, I think we will see some outbreaks of rain affecting the Northern Isles, especially quite heavy rain here, and it'll take much of the day to clear from Shetland. But elsewhere, it's a mix of sunny spells, and there will be some showers around too. But across the Isles tomorrow afternoon, Shetland still holding on to some rain. A brighter afternoon, though, for Orkney, across Caithness. Parts of northeastern Scotland faring quite well in terms of sunshine too. And really across eastern, central and southern areas, we will see some spells of sunshine tomorrow. Just the odd shower affecting the southwest, but in the northwest is where the showers will be frequent and heavy, continuing into tomorrow evening, along with quite gusty winds along western coastal areas. For the extended outlook, will we have an occlusion moving in on Wednesday, pepping up the showers, then the next area of low pressure moving in on Thursday, but it's meeting high pressure across Eastern Europe, so the rain not amounting to too much. Showery across the west initially on Wednesday, those showers pushing eastwards during the day. Central and southern areas drier with some spells of brightness and sunshine. Temperatures in the region of around 6 to 9 or 10 Celsius. Thursday, there will be a good deal of cloud, the best of the morning sunshine for the Northern Isles, Sutherland and Caithness, and some outbreaks of rain moving in. But as I say, that rain moving into high pressure to the east, so not amounting to too much. Friday, it's a mixed bag again. There will be a lot of dry weather, bright weather the further east you are, but the next area of low pressure then waiting in the wings, moving in from the west. So all told, quite an unsettled few days of weather. Showers or longer spells of rain, never really too far away. That's the forecast. Amy?
I think we're getting absolutely everything.
We are. We're here to serve, Amy.
Thank you so much. And thanks to you for watching as well. That's all for the news at 17. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.